Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. The Holy Knights are in Elbaf, and even though their powers border on the divine, we're going to explain how the story has already revealed how they will be defeated. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. The Holy Knights, much like the celestial dragons in Sabaody, represent an authoritarian elite that sees itself as untouchable, arrogant, and imposes its dominance over entire peoples, not just through politics, but through gifts that verge on the supernatural. I believe this comparison becomes even stronger when we realize that in Sabaody, the Straw Hats had no chance of defeating the admirals, and in Elbaf, the power gap between the crew and the Holy Knights, who possess regeneration, teleportation, and even partial immortality, is also colossal. But perhaps the strongest parallel of all is the moment when Luffy loses everything and must rebuild. The defeat at Sabaody led to the crew's separation, individual growth, and ultimately, the time skip. In Elbaf, if the story truly is cyclical, as Oda seems to insist, then we will likely see Luffy at a disadvantage once again, maybe even at one of the lowest points of his journey. But this time, unlike before, he already holds the key to turn the tide, his fully awakened Conqueror's Haki, the power inherited from Joy Boy, and an alliance that goes beyond his crew. Because that's exactly what's being built little by little in the Elbaf arc. The Giants are clearly the people of Joy Boy. They don't just have a historical connection to him, they also seem to know his true legend, different from what is told to the outside world. The ancient mural showing Emu, for example, was revealed in Elbaf, already setting the tone that this island has a direct connection to the Void Century and the origins of the current conflict. And that's where what might be Luffy's most powerful key against the Holy Knights comes in: legacy. Because it's not just the Conqueror's Haki that matters, but the way it's used, how it connects to Joy Boy's story, and how that affects Emu. Chapter 1140 might be the most important of all, not only for what it shows in terms of raw power, but especially for the reactions. When MF activates the knot with Joy Boy's Haki, the Gorosei dissolve like smoke. But what struck me most was Imu's scream of pain. It wasn't physical pain. It was something deeper, almost as if the presence of that Haki awakened very old memories or traumas. I believe this means that Joy Boy and Emu had a direct confrontation in the past, and perhaps Joy Boy's Haki wounded Emu in a way no other attack could. If that's the case, then what Luffy needs to defeat the Holy Knights isn't just more strength. He needs to learn to use his Haki in a way that connects with Joy Boy's will. Not just the King's Haki, but the very intention behind it. Because there's something special about this Haki. When Luffy enters Gear 5th and becomes Nika, he's able to affect reality around him, turning everything into rubber and even interfering with the environment in absurd ways. But even so, until now, he hasn't been able to directly injure the Gorosei. So maybe something is missing. Maybe Gear 5th is still just one piece of a larger puzzle. And maybe the answer lies in Elbaf with the Giants. Because if there's a place where Luffy can reconnect with Joy Boy's true legacy, it's Elbaf. The Giants speak of the drums of liberation as if they truly knew him. And if they hold more than just stories, if they safeguard techniques, artifacts, or even the full explanation of what this legendary level Conqueror's Haki really is, then it's there that Luffy will become truly unstoppable against Emu. But that brings us to another very important point: the separation of the Straw Hats in Elbaf. I don't think it's a coincidence that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are away from the main group while the Holy Knights show up in full force. As stated, Gonku alone defeated Usopp, Brook, Jinbei, and Nami effortlessly. That shows not only the power gap, but also the absence of advanced Haki in much of the crew. And so the narrative structure repeats: Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji will return, each with a crucial role, perhaps even with new upgrades. I believe it is at this moment, when the crew is about to collapse completely, that they'll appear as the answer. Because now, they know what they're facing. And most importantly, they know the Holy Knight's weak point. Haki is, without a doubt, the key. But Haki alone isn't enough if it isn't used with the emotional intensity we saw in MF's attack. That wasn't just technique, it was pure will. It was the desire for freedom. It was the legacy of a man who tried to free the world and failed. Joy Boy didn't win in the past, but he left hope alive. And now, Luffy, as his successor, needs to finish what he started. But to do that, he'll need more than Gear 5th. He'll need to understand who he is, what Nika really is, and what it truly means to free the world. In previous chapters like 1044 and 1045, we see Luffy becoming Nika for the first time. The laughter, the elastic power, the ability to affect the environment. all of that is new, but still feels incomplete. The fight with Kaido was an introduction, a warning. But now, with the world on the brink of collapse and the Holy Knights threatening not just Elbaf, but everything Joy Boy stood for, Luffy must go beyond. And it is in Elbaf that he'll achieve this. Because there, he won't fight alone. He'll join forces with the Giants, maybe even find the ancient artifacts left by Joy Boy or other figures from the Void Century. But most importantly, I believe Luffy will discover that the true power of Nika isn't just to reshape the environment, but to liberate hearts. And maybe that's what Imu fears most of all, because the control of the world is built on fear, on submission, on the imposition of a false order. But if Luffy, with the laughter and the unbreakable will inherited from Joy Boy, can shatter that, then not even regeneration, the void, or immortality will be able to stop him. Because that kind of power only exists as long as people believe it's invincible. But what happens when the entire world starts laughing with Luffy? When the drums of liberation echo not just through Elbaf, but in every corner of the planet? Maybe then, and only then, will it be possible to truly defeat Imu. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's been Oda's plan from the very beginning. Because One Piece has always been about freedom, about dreams, about inherited will. So, by facing the Holy Knights, Luffy won't just be fighting an army of immortal elites. He'll be challenging the very structure of control over the world. And maybe, just maybe, this will be the moment when the Straw Hats stop being just a pirate crew and become the symbol of the final revolution. Because if history repeats itself, then the defeat in Elbaf may only be the first step toward an even greater victory. And the secret to that victory lies, as always, in the heart of our captain. In Elbaf, we have the Holy Knights, the Giants, a clear separation among the Straw Hats, and above all, an oppressive presence of the world government, with Imu's invisible hand tightening the noose even more around our protagonists. But unlike Sabaody, where the only option was to escape, now Luffy and his crew not only can fight, they must fight. What changes isn't just the setting or the strength of their enemies, it's Luffy. Because now, he is Nika, and that's exactly where things start to make sense, at least in my mind. Who knows, maybe the full awakening of the true sun god is directly tied to Elbaf, to this land that once lived, fought, and suffered alongside Joy Boy. In chapter 1110, when the Gorosei are summoned in Egghead, we saw for the first time how the Abyss works, this transportation ability that allows individuals to be present in different places almost simultaneously, defying space and time as we know it. But when Luffy awakens Gear 5, that very logic seems to falter. Laughter echoes, the ground warps, the sky turns to rubber, and it's as if the universe bends to Luffy's will. If Imu's power is the Abyss, the force that traverses time to subjugate, then Luffy's may be the awakening, the force that traverses ages to set people free. The existence of Joy Boy in the past, and his return now through the figure of Nika, is the symmetrical opposite of Imu, and a direct response to Imu's prolonged reign. If the Holy Knights are regeneration, flesh molded by a dark power, then Luffy is the spirit that cannot be subdued, not even by time itself. What we saw in Egghead wasn't a simple clash, it was a test. Joy Boy's Reiki undid the forms of the Gorosei, unraveled the summoning circles, which had seemed perfect until then, and even struck Imu directly, even though he was far away, locked in his flower chamber. This may mean that this demonic mark, which allows for regeneration and summoning, is actually an extension of Imu's soul. If that's true, then injuring the Gorosei isn't just a matter of force, but of reaching the very essence of the world Imu is built. And this is where Elbaf returns to the center of the conversation, because Elbaf has history. The Giants are not just powerful characters, they are beings who lived through the past, or at least its direct consequences. The wall with Joy Boy's mural, the ancient records, the reverent fear they hold for the solar figure. All of this points to a spiritual bond that was never broken. Maybe that's why the Holy Knights are there. Maybe Luffy isn't the one pursuing them. Maybe they're trying to sever that bond with Joy Boy's legacy once and for all. After all, the closer Luffy gets to his true potential, the more Imu seems to suffer, and the more desperate he becomes to erase any trace of that ancestral spirit. In Egghead, conventional attacks did nothing to the Gorosei. Not even the monumental strength of the Giants, not even Luffy's Gear 5, but when the knot of Amet was undone, and Joy Boy's Rocky was released, everything changed. The air trembled, the Gorosei were scattered, and Imu screamed in pain as if that strike had pierced through dimensions. The implication is strong. Only the Conqueror's Reiki, or more precisely, the Rocky inherited from Joy Boy, is capable of breaking the demonic regeneration. And even though Luffy has this ability, it's still not enough, because his Rocky is still his own, not yet Joy Boy's. It's not complete. That's why Elbaf is more than a battlefield. It's a forge, a spiritual forge, where the true sun god will need to be shaped and reignited. Because what we've seen so far is only the reflection, the playfulness, the laughter. But when Luffy truly understands what it means to be Nika, not the name, but the spirit, the will, then maybe his Rocky will become a natural continuation of the one that was used 800 years ago. Maybe, and I repeat, maybe. This is the key to disabling the Holy Knight's regeneration without relying on external tools like the Knot of Eamon. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.